Stop. Just stop for a moment. Pause everything. Take a deep breath. I know that you've been telling yourself that you're too late, that you missed your window, that you should have started years ago. And maybe you've been thinking, if only I had started sooner. If only I hadn't wasted all that time. What's the point of starting now? But I need to tell you something that will free you from this prison. Yes, the best time was then, but the second best time is now. And standing here wishing you had started then doesn't plant the tree. Let me tell you what you've been doing. You've been standing in front of an empty field, a field where something beautiful could grow. And instead of planting, you're staring at the ground thinking, I should have planted this 10 years ago. If I had, it would be fully grown by now. And you're right. If you had started 10 years ago, you'd be 10 years further along. But here's what you're doing. Instead of planting, you're punishing yourself for not having planted. You stand there year after year, paralyzed by regret, frozen by the belief that because you didn't start then, there's no point in starting now. And meanwhile, more time passes. Another year, another 5 years, another decade. And the field stays empty. Not because it's too late, but because you won't let yourself plant. Let me tell you about when I thought I was too late. I was in college, Facebook era. Mark Zuckerberg was a god, an idol to everyone. And everyone wanted to be a tech founder. Just like a generation before, everybody wanted to be a rock star. But here's what Zuckerberg did that set an unfair expectation. He started Facebook at 19 and became a billionaire, one of the wealthiest people in the world, also at a very young age. And Silicon Valley ate it up. The media ate it up, and a narrative formed. If you don't start your startup in college and drop out, your odds of success plummet. Young and naive, that's what investors loved. That's what they craved. Fresh new blood. And I believed it. So when I graduated and went into the corporate world, I spent years thinking, I missed my train. My chances of doing a startup are over. I was too old. The window had closed. It was too late. And I watched the field stay empty year after year because I had convinced myself there was no point in planting. And then I got fired, age 27, from that financial services job. And something shifted, not immediately, but slowly. Over the months that followed, I was 28. And I realized, if I don't do it now, I may never find the courage to do it later. So I made the choice for myself, and I took the risk. Did I feel old? Yes. I wasn't in a dorm building a startup. I was an adult with real-world problems, bills, responsibilities, things college kids don't even have to consider. It felt like a luxury. The idea that I could even attempt this at my age. But I did it anyway. I started that COVID startup. 5 people, no money, a shady office next to dumpsters off an I-35 in South Austin. And over the next 3 years, 5 people became 200. $0 became 25 million in revenue. The tree I planted at 28, when I thought I was too late, it grew. And here's what I learned during that time. Research started coming out. Studies, data, and they all said the same thing. The ideal age to start a company, around 40. Not 19, not 22, 40. Why? Because by 40 you have experience, you have perspective, you know how the world works, how people work, you have a clear idea of the problems you want to solve. And you know how to solve them efficiently, effectively, and profitably. So I wasn't too late. I was actually early. The narrative that I said missed the window, it was a lie. Let me show you what I mean. There's an old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Imagine you're 40 years old and you think, I wish I had planted a tree when I was 20. If I had, I'd have a beautiful mature tree right now. And you're right, you would, but you didn't plant it. And now you stand there at 40, staring at the empty spot, thinking, what's the point now? If I plant it today, it'll take 20 years to grow. I'll be 60 by then. And so you don't plant it. And then 10 years pass, you're 50, and you think, damn, if I had just planted the tree at 40, I'd have a 10-year-old tree by now. But what's the point now? I'll be 70 by the time it's grown. So you don't plant it. And then at 60, you look back and realize, I've spent 40 years wishing I had planted a tree. And if I had just planted it at any point during those 40 years, I'd have a tree by now. But I don't. Not because it was too late, but because I kept telling myself it was too late. And now the field is still empty, and you're 60, and you still don't have a tree. The regret doesn't plant the tree, only action does. Now let me tell you why you believe it's too late. It's because starting now means admitting you didn't start then, and that hurts. If you start today, you have to face the reality. I could have been 10 years further along if I had started sooner. And that stings. That feels like failure. That feels like proof you wasted time. So instead of facing that pain, you avoid it. You tell yourself, oh, it's too late now anyway. No point in starting. And that feels safer, because if it's too late, then you're off the hook. You don't have to face the regret. You don't have to feel the sting. But here's the brutal truth. 10 years from now, you'll be 10 years older whether you start today or not. The time is going to pass anyway. You can spend the next 10 years wishing you had started today. Or you can spend them growing, building. And yes, you'll still have the regret. I wish I had started sooner. That doesn't go away. But at least you'll have the tree. At least you'll have progress. At least you'll have growth. At least you'll have something instead of standing in an empty field for another decade. The pain of starting late is temporary. The pain of never starting is permanent. Let me tell you about a tree I'm planting right now. I've always wanted to make films since I was a kid, drawing airplanes and skylines on my bedroom walls with Sharpies, creating worlds in my imagination, writing stories, dreaming of telling those stories that would captivate people. I'd watch films of my creation in my mind from a young age. But over time, I thought I was too late because the filmmakers I admired, Spielberg, Tarantino, they found their calling when they were kids, teenagers. And I thought, well, they have an enormous advantage. They started so early. I'll never be able to catch up. And I also didn't know anyone in the industry. I didn't have connections. I didn't have a path. And I thought, to become a serious filmmaker, you need to go to film school. One of the top 10 in the world. Earn an MFA. Get picked up by an important production company. Work your way up. I considered it, going to grad school for film. It was just too expensive. And it didn't make sense. I also didn't have a good camera. So I told myself, it's too late. That ship has sailed. But then I started learning things. The filmmakers I admired, they openly said, you don't need film school to be a great filmmaker. You just need to film. Stop asking for permission, going to a program, getting credentials. Start doing. Write a good script, pick up any camera, even the one on your phone, and tell a great story that captivates people. Everyone else, everything else is a distraction. And then I learned something else. Ridley Scott, one of the greatest filmmakers alive, started in his 40s. And Spielberg, Tarantino, they didn't even go to film school. And I realized it's never too late. You just have to want it hard enough, and you have to do it. Around that time, my older sister, Sylvia, she got involved in short film competitions, and so did her husband. And one day, when they were visiting, I was in my mid-20s, my sister said, let's make a little short film, something quick, something that's like a minute. So we did. We spent an entire evening that weekend, and we filmed. And I produced something small, something simple, but it showed me doing it is a lot less scary than I imagined. And I thought, oh, I'm actually doing this. And since then, over the years, we've worked on numerous short films. The most impressive one so far was called Llorona, based on the Mexican folktale. I was both an actor and a director. We filmed it here in South Texas at some very, very beautiful, iconic, scenic places in nature. And this past September, we even received awards at the South Texas International Film Festival. People flew in from around the world, even from Hollywood, to participate. Many of them were people I didn't know, but they recognized me from the short film, and they would come up to me, shake my hand. They would even say, "You're very talented. You should pursue this seriously." Now, I'm not yet 100% focused on filmmaking. I'm still building Hang Tight. I'm still working on other things, like this channel. But I'm laying a foundation. I'm learning. I'm scripting. I'm casting. Set design, photography, directing, post-production, everything. I'm learning so much one step at a time. And that foundation, it's only getting stronger over time. My goal is to become a full-time filmmaker by age 40, to make that my full focus for the rest of my life. And after my ayahuasca journey, in my early 30s, when I learned to accept myself and love myself exactly as I am, I realized something. Being a late bloomer is my superpower. It gave me the courage, the hope, the patience to pursue film in this next stage of my life. I'm planting the tree right now at 30-something when I thought I was too late. And it's growing. So let me tell you what happens when you finally plant the tree. At first, it's small, fragile, barely visible, and you look at it and think, this is nothing. This is insignificant. I am so far behind. But you keep watering it. You keep showing up. You keep tending to it, pruning it. And 1 year passes. The tree is still small, but it's bigger than it was. 2 years pass. It's still not impressive, but it's growing. 5 years pass. It's starting to look like a tree, not a sapling, a tree. 10 years pass. It's strong. It's tall. It's undeniable. It's a tree. And people see it and say, wow, you're so lucky to have this tree. And you think, lucky? I planted this 10 years ago when I thought it was too late. I almost didn't plant it at all. That's what starting now does. It doesn't erase the years you didn't start. It doesn't undo the regret, but it gives you a tree. And a tree is better than an empty field and a lifetime of wishing. My dad got a doctorate in theology in his early 60s. My mom is also working on hers, and she's in her early 60s. She's even thinking of going after another graduate degree once she's done with that. One of my uncles, a very talented metallurgical engineer from Mexico City, he got his law degree in his late 50s, not because he needed it, but because he was intellectually curious, because he wanted to break into a new branch of work, because he wanted the opportunities that come with those new skills, with that new perspective. On the other hand, sadly, I've seen friends give up on their dreams because they thought they were just too late. Someone who wanted to be a doctor but was already 31 and had studied accounting. Someone who wanted to be a lawyer but was already 36 and had studied medicine. Someone who wanted to leave everything behind and start fresh, but thought it was too late at age 41. And it makes me sad because they're leaving behind their potential happiness, their potential future, in exchange for a safe and secure path. But safe isn't always good, and secure isn't always fulfilling. The field stays empty, and the regret stays forever. So here's what I need you to do. Stop standing in the empty field. Stop wishing you had started sooner. Stop telling yourself it's too late. Plant the tree today. What's the thing you've been putting off because you think you're too late? The degree you wish you had finished? Start today. The skill you wish you had learned? Start today. The business you wish you had built? Start today. The creative pursuit you wish you had followed? Start today. You're going to be 10 years older in 10 years, whether you start today or not. The only question is, will you have a tree, or will you still be standing in an empty field wishing you had planted one? And if you need to commit, if you need to stop this paralysis, leave a comment down below. Just type, "I'm planting the tree." Say it out loud, because when you stop wishing you had started then and actually start now, the regret becomes fuel instead of prison. Yes, the best time was then. You can't change that. You can't go back. But the second best time is now. And now is all you have. So plant the tree, water it, tend to it, and trust that in 10 years, you'll be grateful you didn't let another decade pass in an empty field. The tree won't care that you started late. It'll just grow. And you'll be proud that you did it in the first place.